I'm Tavis Smiley. Should not be reserved just for a privileged few. It is a skill our world desperately needs in every community, at every table. So I'm pleased to announce the Founding Members Scholarship Program for my online course, The Art of Conversation, in 4 different categories. The Community Builder, for those who serve others, the Rising Voice for emerging communicators, the Bridge Builder for underrepresented perspectives, and the Determined Scholar for those facing financial hardship. If finances are the only barrier between you and this training, well, let's hurdle that barrier. We're accepting applications right now at TavisTalks.com. That's TavisTalks.com. The priority deadline is February the 10th. So visit TavisTalks.com right now and let's build this table together. On and on and on and on.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Top 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on this, the 11th day of February. We're here on KBLA. We continue to celebrate Black History Month. Today we are worldwide with P.L. Da Silva and Dr. Shiva. I'll be introducing both of them in just moments. But on this date in 1990, Nelson Mandela was released from Victor Verster prison after 27 years of imprisonment, a pivotal moment in dismantling South African apartheid. In 1644, the first Black legal protest in America occurred. 11 enslaved Africans in the Netherlands, present-day New York, petitioned for their freedom. Their protest was successful, leading to their release and the establishment of the first community of freed Africans in the Americas. In 1958, Ruth Carroll Taylor was hired by Mohawk Airlines, becoming the first African-American flight attendant. In 1961, Robert Weaver was sworn in as administrator of the Housing and Home Finance Agency, the highest federal post held by an African-American at that time. In 1968, at the age of 16, Henry Lewis became the first African-American to lead a U.S. symphonic orchestra, the Los Angeles Philharmonic. And in 1970, Joseph Searles III became the first African-American floor member of the New York Stock Exchange. In 1976, Clifford Alexander Jr. was confirmed as the first Secretary of the Army, and musician Angelo. In 1972, comedian Arsenio Hall. 1956, dancer Gregory Hines. 1946, all were born on February 11th. You're listening to Worldwide on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Wealthy Wednesdays, and on Wealthy Wednesdays, we always have our regular contributor, Dr. P.L. Da Silva, who has over 20 years of experience of backroom diplomacy, mediation, and negotiation. He has taught politics, international relations, and several graduate and undergraduate programs at universities in New York, New Jersey, Long Island, and Queen's University of Belfast in Northern Ireland. Dr. Da Silva's publications include Postmodern Insurgencies, Political Violence, Identity Formation, Peacemaking and Comparative Perspective. And just before I bring on PL and our guest, I want to share this little note with you about P.L. Da Silva. PL is a professor extraordinaire, a very serious scholar. And what I found so fascinating when I had the first opportunity of meeting PL was, and is, his desire to get out of the classroom, not to leave it permanently, but to give voice to protest, to give voice to resistance. And behind the lectern of a classroom for P.L. Da Silva was not enough. PL said, I'm going to spend my time on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, sharing with people of goodwill, people of good conscience, what's going on in the world, and we learn so much weekly by his experience. PL, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you very much, Jesse. You're too kind.
I'm so glad that you're here, and Dr. Shiva is also here. Dr. Shiva Ayudare, MIT PhD, the inventor of email, a candidate for U.S. president, and polymath, who holds 4 degrees from MIT and is a world-renowned systems scientist. He's a Fulbright Scholar, Lemelson MIT Award finalist, first outstanding scientist and technologist of Indian origin, Westinghouse Science Talent Honors Award recipient, and was nominated for the U.S. National Medal of Technology and Innovation. In 1982, the U.S. government recognized Dr. Ayyadurai as the inventor of email by awarding him the first copyright for email at a time when copyright was the only way to protect software inventions. Dr. Shiva, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Great to be here, Jesse. Hope you're well.
I think, PL, I want to start with Dr. Shiva on this question of the U.S. role in the world, in large measure, because of the very nature of the alienation and the mismanagement of our diplomatic affairs in the country. We have about 1 minute and 45 seconds before we come forward. I know we'll pick up on this and other questions, but Dr. Shiva, can you speak to us about U.S. alienation?
Well, I think the United States, Jesse, I think we spoke briefly about it before, and we have to differentiate the United States from the people versus what I call the swarm, the billionaire swarm. Their interests are very different than the working class in the United States, which is essentially imperial domination. And they've taken 2 tacks to do that. One approach was, you go and invade other countries during the Kennedy administration, but you soften it with USAID and Peace Corps, those kind of things. But in the Trump administration, the same thing is being carried out without the veneer of being humanitarian. And that's what we're seeing right now. So it's just out and outright rabid imperialism. And when we come back to talk about this, imperialism serves 2 interests because it creates a flow of refugees coming to the United States who then get essentially put under massive amounts of fear into this quote unquote illegal immigration process. And that gives them a flow of new blood, new labor, cheap labor. And as I'll talk about, I have a new book coming out called Deportation Theater. And both wings of the establishment, be it Obama or to Trump, have been using that influx of immigration to act like they want to fight quote unquote illegal immigration. But what we'll realize is that the reality is that it's actually being used to divide the white worker from the immigrant and non-white workers, to suppress wages, to divide workers, and ultimately what's happening is to build a police state right here in the United States. So it's alienation abroad, but also the creation of a surveillance and police state in the United States.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. A very fascinating conversation we're going to have today with Dr. Shiva and P.L. Da Silva. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? What's up? What's up? We got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaped his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her ugly mother down the church. Getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month Luncheon. Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we're KBLA Talk 1580.
It's tax time, y'all. If you want to file free, this next one's for you.
Now taxes is so free. Tax free edition only, roughly 37% of filings qualify. Simple form 1040 returns only. Now this is tax.
Love that jam. Up next, commercials.
And to get TurboTax free edition, see if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, student loan interest, and Schedule 1A.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
It's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Please download the app for KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest on Wealthy Wednesdays worldwide with P.L. De Silva is none other than Dr. P.L. De Silva, and he's brought with him Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, a MIT PhD and the inventor of email. And just before the break, Dr. Shiva, we were talking about imperialism, and I think you suggested that imperialism by definition creates fear abroad, which creates an influx of immigrants domestically, but then terror here at home once they do come to these shores, I guess because of the black and brown nature of their skin, they're easily identifiable, leads to cheap labor. Can you further expound upon that?
Yeah, I think if you really look at this, Jesse, one of the important things is that both wings of the establishment are funded by a billionaire, trillionaire swarm. And people want to understand that, then go to shattertheswarm.com, where I define this decentralized multiracial group of elites. And in the United States, you have about 900 billionaires. That swarm funds and makes money off the military industrial complex. So that's one way that they make wealth, which means their wealth is directly tied into having continual imperialist wars. So these imperialist wars take place, and that billionaire swarm obviously gets very, very wealthy. If you just take California, a blue state, it's got 199 billionaires. And that's a blue state. And if you look at Texas and Florida, let's call that Texas, Florida, a red state, that has about 200 billionaires. The combined wealth there is close to about 3.7 trillion. That swarm makes significant money through funding and making investments in the military industrial complex. Now that leads, as I stated earlier, to refugees coming in. As you said, non-white immigrants who come in and under tremendous pressure. And as a part of that, when they do come in, and there's 14 million of those undocumented workers in the United States, they'll take jobs under all sorts of conditions, slave wages, low wages. And what's fascinating is the billionaire swarm funds, be it Obama to Trump, to try to talk tough on immigration. So that tough on immigration, if you really look at the data for the last 30 years, and if you actually look at it, the evidence is there, at best, 1% to 4% of these quote unquote illegal immigrants are deported. And there's various things we could talk about, the nuances. Trump did about 4%, Obama did around 4%. But the white workers are really the target of this manipulation because they are led to believe immigration is being fought, and concomitantly, they have great resentment against these non-white immigrants coming in. But the net of it is this engineered illegality lowers wages not only for the illegal immigrants, but also for the white workers. And on top of it, the white workers get doubly screwed because they are, out of their resentment, they do not unite with the non-white or immigrant workers to unify to fight the swarm. So it's quite a very fascinating operation that's being done. So outwardly, it seems like people are fighting immigration, but the reality is this process leads to dividing workers, suppressing wages, and white workers really need to look at this because it has significantly affected them. It's sort of white on white crime because those 400 billionaires just in those 3 states, 70%, 80% are white, but they are multiracial. So the billionaire swarm does something quite fascinating. They are united regardless of being multiple races, multiple religion, but they work very hard to make sure white workers and the broad mass of the American workers are divided. And every iteration that they do of this, Jesse, using something called ICE, so the white workers think, they're getting enforcement, but in reality, that enforcement infrastructure leads to a greater and greater surveillance police state. And by the way, this has been going on for 400 years. It's not new.
I do want to bring Peel in the conversation. Peel, Dr. Shiva held no punches back when he said that both Democrats and Republicans, either Obama or Trump, are both taking advantage of the same kind of open, revolving door policy that is imperialism abroad and a kind of domestic wage suppressing labor here at home. And Dr. Shiva goes even one step further. It says that essentially working class and poor whites are stuck right there in the middle. Dr. Silva?
Definitely. I tell my students all the time that the immigration system is fixed. It's fixed to bring in, immigrant labor, and they use the term illegal. And these people work for a pittance. And you look at all the construction jobs, don't listen to me, just look at all the construction jobs. Who are the main bulk of people who are working in the construction industry? They're mostly from Central and South America. And this is a huge issue. And it's not something that's going away. So the slave trade has been supplanted by bringing in immigrants. As Dr. Shiva said, you create a ruckus in Central America, South America, and you have all these refugees coming in, Afghanistan, Somalia, wherever, right? And this is the bulk of the working labor force in the United States. And we don't have the slave trade anymore, but we have illegal migration. And look at all the people who are also making money from these privately owned, jails and penitentiaries. The sheriffs are involved, the CBP is involved, ICE is involved, the judges are involved, everybody's elected, everybody gets a backhander. Somebody should do a serious, thorough forensic investigation of all the corruption involved, the racism and the class warfare that Dr. Shiva talked about, race and class, and the complicity of the authorities of people who have power along the border and in places where migrants are locked up, and to see how the owners of these mechanisms of power, the levers of power, are making money hand over fist and getting rich, literally over the backs of poor people.
I'm thinking in this moment that that there's also an education gap, Dr. Shiva, between working class whites who've not graduated from college, have had no formal institutionalized education and training, who this part of the dialogue and conversation about the revolving door of imperialism isn't something that they've given much thought to. It just boils down to them that there is a South American coming to the United States that somehow is displacing them. Or what Dad said in 1984 and 1988, he talked about a campaign for public office in North Carolina. I think it was the Harvey Gantt for Senate campaign. And Harvey Gantt was actually winning in that race. He was winning Dr. Da Silva on all of the Rainbow Coalition platforms, reaching out, urban, rural, Greensboro, Charlotte, Winston-Salem, winning the big cities, doing a lot of work. And Harvey Gantt was just that kind of guy. He was the mayor of a major city in North Carolina. And in the last 3 weeks, I think it was Jesse Helms, who put up a commercial of two white hands shaking hands. And then all of a sudden, a black hand comes, and it's a black hand shaking the white hand. And the insinuation was that if you elect Harvey Gantt, your job is going to become or be taken by a black man, and you're not going to get the opportunity. That Harvey Gantt is a threat to the deal that we have to keep you employed. And that's called the strong black hand theory. Harvey Gantt ran against that, but that was the negative attack ad that was used on him. And in this moment, as I think about what Dr. Shiva is suggesting, the manipulation, Dr. Shiva, for working class and poor whites in this revolving Democratic and Republican scheme has probably reached its zenith now. Dr. Shiva?
Yeah, I think the big lie that white Americans have been told is that immigrants are stealing your jobs and lowering your wages. The reality, the truth is, it's white on white crime. It is white billionaires who are screwing over poor white people. And in fact, you can look at the 900 billionaires in the United States, 75%, 80% are white. So when you just look at the economics, it is white on white crime. The left Democrats will talk about what's going on with the poor black, brown person, yellow person, and that creates resentment among the whites. The right-wing Republicans make the white person feel like they're supreme, right? White supremacy. So that makes them feel good, but they're getting screwed over. And so the white American worker is actually getting screwed in multiple ways, economically, mentally. Also, so it's quite fascinating when you actually look at the data. What's even more interesting is when you look at the fact that if you take Texas and Florida, which are deep red states, they have close to 3.7 million undocumented workers. Okay? And California has 2.3 million. So why are you going over to Minneapolis and starting a ruckus? Right? So this is deportation theater. And I put together a quick book on this because I think there's a huge opportunity to educate white workers on this. And when they realize this, I think karma is going to be pretty swift for the white billionaire swarm, because this is what is taking place in the United States. White people, the poor white working class, is being massively abused by the likes of Peter Thiel. And by the way, Elon Musk talks a big game as though he's against illegal immigration, but through subcontractors, that's how, the allegations have come out. That's how undocumented workers were used to build facilities in Texas for him, as well as Jeff Bezos, both sides. So that when you really just look at the data, construction, 40% of, if you look at Texas construction, illegal immigrants, 50% of farm workers, California, 65% of hotel workers in Florida. So the entire operation, by the way, if you got rid of all the undocumented workers in the United States, it would be far greater than the recession of 2008. So there's no interest that the billionaire swarm, red or blue, has in ever addressing the immigration problem.
So why the blue states? Why the blue states? Why are they here enforcing immigration and not enforcing it in areas that are far closer to home?
Well, the enforcement issue is all theater. So Obama was called deporter in chief, if you remember, right? He did it as a nice office manager, very diplomatically. Okay, Trump just does it as a movie director. Okay, just different tactics.
Oh wow!
You should have taken.
Oh wow! One is a movie director and one is just a great manager.
Exactly, but at the end of the day, they were both funded by the same billionaire swarm. If you look at the Uline family, they talk a big game against immigration, but their operation is run, needs illegal immigrants. So basically, the billionaire swarm just funds either wing at the White House to perpetuate this myth that they're fighting immigration just to keep the white working class appeased. But the reality is the entire US swarm economy would completely collapse if you actually enforced quote unquote immigration. But what it's doing is look, when my dad came here from India, which is again a country that was suppressed by colonialism, the best minds left. My dad was a great engineer. He was being paid 1/3, Jesse, of the wages of his white counterpart. Okay? Now he took it because it was better being here than going to India. But ultimately, even his white counterpart, who mentally thought he was better than my dad, his wages are suppressed. So if he was making $13,000 a year, the other guy's making 30, well, maybe their wages really should be 80 or 90 if they both united, in a broad workers' movement, with true bottoms-up unions. But that's the end goal, to ensure that the white worker, the brown worker, the yellow worker do not unite. And if you look back at, I think, 1600s, there was a time when black workers and white settlers united, and that was called Bacon's Rebellion. And since that time, racism has been engineered. It's weaponized to make sure the broad working class never unites against their real enemy, which is today the billionaire swarm.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Shiva Ayurade is our very special guest on Worldwide with P.L. Da Silva. Obviously, we're going to have more when we come forward. We're going to talk about the fragmentation of healthcare and its industry and the overwhelming power of healthcare industry, which is a huge contributing factor, plus the unfounded policies pushed by HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More when we come forward with two geniuses on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Florida police say an attempt to serve a warrant led to an 8-hour standoff in Plantation.
You'll be on pretrial GPS level 2. I am ordering within 10 days you obtain a mental health evaluation and follow all recommended treatment.
Black Tennessee rapper I Heart Memphis, whose real name is Richard Colbert, is facing charges including written threats to kill and resisting arrest. A judge ordered he can only use a basic phone without internet access. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon has hired former federal prosecutor Joseph Thompson ahead of his next court appearance in Minnesota. Lemon faces charges tied to an anti-ICE protest at a church in St. Paul, but denies wrongdoing, saying he was there covering the event as a journalist. And the son of Tiger Woods has chosen where he'll play college golf. Charlie Woods announced on Instagram he's committed to Florida State University. He's currently ranked 21st in the American Junior Golf Association. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In the new year, make one commitment. Don't let someone else's carelessness leave you paying the price. OPO Law has been protecting Los Angeles for nearly 50 years. So if you're injured this holiday season or at any time in 2026, go to opolaw.com. In the new year, make one commitment. Don't let someone else's carelessness leave you paying the price. OPO Law has been protecting Los Angeles for nearly 50 years. So if you're injured this holiday season or at any time in 2026, go to opolaw.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A couple of significant notes from the Lakers' blowout loss to San Antonio Tuesday night. LeBron missed his 16th game this season because of a sore foot. That means he's not eligible for selection to the All-NBA team after the season. 2 years ago, the NBA changed their rules, requiring players to not miss more than 15 games to remain eligible for postseason honors. LeBron had been an All-NBA selection for 21 straight years. San Antonio star Victor Wembanyama scored 37 of his 40 points against the Lakers in the first half. That was the highest first half total by any player this season. Some of the entertainment has been confirmed for NBA All-Star Weekend. 3-time Grammy winner Ludacris will perform Saturday at the Intuit Dome before the dunk contest. Brandy and Sarah McLachlan will perform the U.S. and Canadian national anthems on Sunday before the All-Star game. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Whoa,
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley. The tools to hold a meaningful conversation should not be reserved just for a privileged few. It is a skill our world desperately needs in every community, at every table. So I'm pleased to announce the Founding Members Scholarship Program for my online course, The Art of Conversation, in 4 different categories. The Community Builder, for those who serve others, the Rising Voice for emerging communicators, the Bridge Builder for underrepresented perspectives, and the Determined Scholar for those facing financial hardship. If finances are the only barrier between you and this training, well, let's hurdle that barrier. We're accepting applications right now at TavisTalks.com. That's TavisTalks.com. The priority deadline is February the 10th. So visit TavisTalks.com right now and let's build this table together.
They call it progress, but progress has a price. Land once held in black hands, taken, stolen, erased. Acres paved into highways, fields burned. Homes replaced by parking lots and broken promises. Every deed lost was a dream deferred. We talk about millionaires, but what about the millionaires that never were? The farmers whose soil was seized, the families who watched their inheritance disappear, the wealth that never had a chance to grow because its roots were ripped from the ground. They took the land, but never the legacy, because the soil remembers, and so do we. Every story matters. Our mission is to collect, preserve, and amplify these stories. If this is part of your family's history, visit blacklandlost.org/share your story and help bring us closer to justice.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
Come on and listen to me. KBLA
This is Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and our very special contributor worldwide with PL Da Silva and our very special guest, Dr. Shiva Ayudare. PL, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
PL, listen, you're noticing, before we get to the fragmentation of the healthcare industry, you're noticing that some things are happening in the electorate. Particularly putting out a state house seat in the state of Louisiana.
Exactly. Exactly. So this is what's happening, and this is what I would say the writing on the wall. And if the Republican Party and President Trump are not cognizant or not taking note of it, they will certainly face the reality during the midterm elections. I have said many times that the Republican Party is going to get creamed at the midterm elections. They're going to get smashed. They're going to lose control of the House and the Senate. The point is that whether the Democrats are up to doing what is required of them, or are they going to be no-can-do Democrats? That's the problem. The problem is that both parties are found wanting. Trump and his cronies are egregious, certainly. But the Democrats are not too far behind. They're more silent and not in your face.
So let me ask you this question, because I think we can get a lot out of this segment. I'm thinking that people are voting against Trump, and they're not. What I'm hearing you say is that people are voting against Trump, but they're not necessarily voting for Democrats. So say they're wanting, meaning, Peel, what is your best thinking on what the Democratic message should be in this environment?
We need good people like yourself, to come into Congress and to make a change, that we will have progressive people who cannot stand what's happening to this country, and that they will band together and be united. That's very important, to fight the swarm, as Dr. Shiva has been saying. But if there's no unity, there's no strength for the fight.
So I appreciate the endorsement, but I'm going to press you, PL, because I'm just a personality, and there are a number of personalities running in 435 congressional districts across the country and hundreds of other local races. What is the message? Is there a unifying message? I mean, I'm not discussing the Democratic Party's talking points, but the Democratic Party, as you correctly observe, is only a few points higher than the Republican Party, which isn't saying very much. We've heard Mamdani in New York talk about affordability. We saw the candidate in New Jersey and the candidate in Virginia also make the case for affordability. But affordability can quickly become a cliche that's not tied to, I'm hearing you say, authentic leadership and authentic personalities of what? Teachers who need to run for higher office, of parents and mothers who are experienced.
Students, lawyers, I mean, all of the above. But what's most important is that we need a manifesto, a proper platform, a plan of action. You saw what the Heritage Foundation did, preparing the way for the Trump, dictatorship, I would call it now. The Democrats don't have anything near that sophisticated or in-depth. And we need progressive Democrats running that, and not the same old tired Democrats that we've been seeing on our screens over and over again.
Dr. Shiva, let me just say this, because I'm in total agreement with PL that we need an alternative. Whether we like it or not, there is going to be a new president in 2028. At least we hope there will be, unless Trump cancels the election or finds a way to stay in power, which would be abysmal. I'm wondering, and I think we're going to have to come to some terms, that there is going to be an imperial Democratic presidency. There just is. Because to undo the Trump era is going to require some unilateral actions just to return to normal, PL. This is not incrementalism, what he has done in the first year. And the first year of a Democratic administration, rehiring people, reestablishing institutions of education, of USAID, of the soft power. I mean, these things are going to require a bull, if you will, in a glass factory in the Washington that Trump has created, in order just to right the ship. But I don't see any Democrats on the horizon, Dr. Shiva. And I know that you're mounting a campaign for presidency that's going to come to the White House with an alternative to what we're hearing. Dr. Shiva?
Yeah, two things, Jesse. My position on this actually started in 1984 when your dad ran, if you remember, in the Rainbow Movement. And then he was in many ways forced by the Democrats, right? Because Reagan was a bigger threat, right? So the movement was in many ways put on the back burner by the force of the Democratic swarm at the time. But my view was it is bottoms-up movements. See, let's go back to fundamentals. What has ever changed the world? It has always been bottoms-up movements. When you're born into this world and you come to a point and you realize you don't like the way things are, the swarm, the establishment, only gives the young 20, 18-year-old two choices. Go run for Congress, right? The electoralism, or become a lawyer and fight. Now, I've done both, but to the extent you do both, if it's not done with a bottoms-up movement, you're going to be compromised. So in Massachusetts, we ran initially against Elizabeth Warren, then we ran as sort of maverick Republicans. Both wings of the establishment didn't like us because we were independent. But by running, we exposed a lot of things. So the goal, I think, Jesse, is why do you participate in this electoral process? My view is it's about building a bottoms-up movement, a workers' consciousness bottoms up. If it is to just run to win, you're going to be obviously compromised. And whether it's a Democrat or Republican, let's be honest, it's not, you can't really, the correction of the ship is minor tweaks. We're realizing what's occurring with the Epstein files. Both wings were involved with this guy, okay? It's a swarm. And they bring us into their theater of left and right. But the only way things have ever changed, if you look at the great upheaval of the 1800s, the bottoms-up movements in the 1900s, most people don't even know that 4 American workers were hanged in the United States for fighting for the 8-hour work day in 1886. And it is those movements that gave rise to any of the gains that we had. It was not, I'm sorry, it wasn't FDR that helped workers. It was bottoms-up movements, which put the fear of God into those in power. And what we're witnessing with Trump is the Democrats have capitulated. There is really no agenda, right? Right, except a few things. So it was very easy for Trump to galvanize people. And I think this was by design. So there's no quote unquote correction here, except building a bottoms-up movement with fundamental principles. Now, we've been doing that here and globally, and we call it truth, freedom, health. You have to integrate, and I think this will lead probably into the health issues. There has to be real freedom of transferring information, matter and energy at a broad level. But fundamentally, how do you actually do real science, and how do you get to real health? These are the fundamentals, and it cannot be done top down anymore.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with our very special guest, Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai and Pio Da Silva, when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What if poetry wasn't something you studied, but something you felt? Poetry for the People, the June Jordan Experience, is now live at the Fountain Theater in Los Angeles, celebrating the life and legacy of June Jordan, visionary poet, activist, and truth teller. This vibrant musical experience brings her words to life with rhythm, joy, and power. Directed by Raymond O. Caldwell and featuring music by her longtime collaborator Adrian Torf, it's joy as resistance, love as liberation, and poetry for the people. Tickets are on sale now at fountaintheater.com. That's fountaintheater.com. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me.
Welcome to the J Lunch Club on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It is Wednesday and worldwide with P.L. De Silva and our very special guest, Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, the inventor of the email. I should probably thank Dr. Shiva for allowing the ability to send an email for free. Because if there were a way in the United States for us to have to put a stamp on an email, we probably would be in more than an affordability crisis here in the United States. So, Dr. Shiva, thank you for your thoughtfulness and this major contribution that you made to humanity with the invention of the email. I'd like to ask a question, if you don't mind, P.L. Let me start with Dr. Shiva, this being our final segment, on the fragmentation of the healthcare industry and the overwhelming power of the healthcare industry and some of the policies that have been advanced by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy. Dr. Shiva, your thoughts on where we are in terms of the nation's health?
Yeah, so I, have interacted with Mr. Kennedy, and it's unfortunate because in 2020, if you actually look back at it, the public was in the middle of COVID, the chaos of COVID. People were really starting to ask fundamental questions about health. And in the middle of that uprising in consciousness on some level, Kennedy was promoted as some anti-establishment person fighting or bringing some solutions. The reality is that Kennedy created a false dialectic of pro-vax versus anti-vax, right? The pro-vax, anti-vax narrative. And I did a bunch of videos early on at that time, in fact, as early as 2019, educating people to think beyond vax and anti-vax, that we have to really focus on a systems approach to the body. And the body is actually quite a resilient phenomenon, and that notion of the immune system. And Kennedy never really addressed that. He rather manipulated the situation there's a lot of monetary stuff we can go into how he monetized it, but fundamentally he manipulated the rising consciousness of people to act as though he was going to fundamentally change things. But when you really, go behind the curtain, Kennedy's really what I call the not so obvious establishment. Albert Bourla thanked him immensely at the White House, from Big Pharma. Kennedy acts like he is doing things for safety, but what he's actually doing is consolidating power, profit, and control for Big Pharma as never before, with a veneer of acting as though he's fighting for health interests. And we can go more deeper into this, but that's what's actually taking place. He's created a false dialectic, and everything he has done from the point of his career to now is essentially positioning himself as some fighter when he's actually a fake fighter. He's part of the establishment, entrenched in it. And the unfortunate thing is that quote unquote medical freedom movement thinks he's fighting for them, and he's not. Now, we've done a lot of work exposing him. In fact, when I exposed him pretty relentlessly, he did a blog post attacking me, right? And if we can go into it deeper, but this guy is completely part of the establishment. He has not fundamentally changed anything right now, Jesse. If you really want to change anything, you have to go after the PBMs, the pharmacy broker managers, and the GPOs, two entities which are the middlemen, the dark sort of behind the curtain middlemen who control the flow of supply of drugs and all sorts of equipment and services to and from hospitals. And that, until that back is broken, which is legalized corruption, nothing's going to change. So everything Kennedy's doing is sort of throwing crumbs to the masses to act as though he's changing something. And in that sense, it's worse than what was before because people think change is occurring. When in fact, what he's doing is consolidating power for big pharma, big hospitals, as never before. That's what's fundamentally taking place.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that, because I remember, and I think we all do, when the CDC director, for example, would offer a health advisory, the nation would stop and pay attention to the credibility of the CDC advisor, because the CDC advisor was on the forefront, if you will, of diseases that needed to be controlled that could impact the general populace of the American people. I remember, PL, when the HHS secretary was so cautious in their words and in their language because they echo the sentiments of the scientists in the department and the doctors and the clinicians to keep the American people healthy and to keep them safe. But to Dr. Shiva's point, the politicization, if you will, of the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the consolidation of the healthcare industry in terms of big pharma, who are the primary beneficiaries, it's almost like a bait and switch. The secretary is entertaining us over here when this swarm that Dr. Shiva is talking about is actually robbing the bank over here. Dr. De Silva?
Yes, so the only question that people need to ask, without going into too much of intricacies, is why are their medicines more expensive here in the United States than in Canada or in Europe, also industrialized Western countries?
What's the answer to that, PL? Why? It's the PBMs, all the middlemen that are handling
the middlemen. Yeah,
it's the middlemen. I mean, the game is fixed, and we are the suckers who got to pay. So I mean, it's just unreal how much of load, that the American people are actually carrying without, protesting, without revolting against this unfathomable. I mean, it's just so unfair what they're doing. They talk about an American dream and all this yada 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 yada, but actually, it's a fixed game where the poor people are getting impoverished, and the rich people, the 1%, are getting richer and richer every day.
Dr. Shiva, you know that you've been on our program before, and we try to leave the last 2 minutes of the program for a word of hope. Dr. Shiva Ayudare is the inventor of the email, and he's also a candidate for U.S. president and polymath who holds 4 degrees from MIT and is a world-renowned systems scientist. Dr. Shiva, we have about 2 minutes before the close of our show. Would you like to offer our viewers and the country a word?
Yeah, just to clarify, we're running for president, but in Massachusetts in 2026, we're running as an independent for Senate, Jesse.
Oh, okay. I do apologize for that. I'll have to update.
No, we're doing both. The broader thing is for president. By the way, we got on the ballot when we ran last time in 14 states. And that's never occurred before, a naturalized citizen breaking, Article 2, Section 1, and really asserting the 14th Amendment. We can talk about that, which is all citizens are created equal. But none of the news media covered it, which is quite fascinating. But anyway, the opportunity I think we have, given where we're at, is to build these bottoms-up movements. And anyone running for office should not run for office or redefine what victory means. If they can run for office and address these fundamental issues, and they can really raise consciousness, to me, that's a win, whether you actually win at the ballot box or not. And we've done that. And I think there's an opportunity now to win and raise consciousness. And I think that's where we're at, because as you brought up in some of these states, people are starting to look. But just because they go from right to left doesn't mean that's a victory. It is essentially reflecting the fact that people are looking for serious change. And I don't think in 2026 or in the near future, we should offer people just go from left to right or right to left. We should offer people these fundamental ideas about it is movements, it is workers uniting, working people uniting, that's going to liberate us. So I think we have a huge opportunity, Jesse.
I look forward to having you back on our show. P.L. De Silva has been our very special regular contributor, and Dr. Shiva Ayudare, our very special guest. More when we come forward on Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. S. Todd Eury, when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Florida police say an attempt to serve a warrant led to an 8-hour standoff in Plantation.
You'll be on pretrial GPS level 2. I am ordering within 10 days you obtain a mental health evaluation and follow all recommended treatment.
Black Tennessee rapper I Heart Memphis, whose real name is Richard Colbert, is facing charges including written threats to kill and resisting arrest. A judge ordered he can only use a basic phone without internet access. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon has hired former federal prosecutor Joseph Thompson ahead of his next court appearance in Minnesota. Lemon faces charges tied to an anti-ICE protest at a church in St. Paul, but denies wrongdoing, saying he was there covering the event as a journalist. And the son of Tiger Woods has chosen where he'll play college golf. Charlie Woods announced on Instagram he's committed to Florida State University. He's currently ranked 21st in the American Junior Golf Association. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In the new year, make one commitment. Don't let someone else's carelessness leave you paying the price. OPO Law has been protecting Los Angeles for nearly 50 years. So if you're injured this holiday season or at any time in 2026, go to opolaw.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A couple of significant notes from the Lakers' blowout loss to San Antonio Tuesday night. LeBron missed his 16th game this season because of a sore foot. That means he's not eligible for selection to the All-NBA team after the season. 2 years ago, the NBA changed their rules, requiring players to not miss more than 15 games to remain eligible for postseason honors. LeBron had been an All-NBA selection for 21 straight years. San Antonio star Victor Wembanyama scored 37 of his 40 points against the Lakers in the first half. That was the highest first half total by any player this season. Some of the entertainment has been confirmed for NBA All-Star Weekend. 3-time Grammy winner Ludacris will perform Saturday at the Intuit Dome before the dunk contest. Brandy and Sarah McLachlan will perform the U.S. and Canadian national anthems on Sunday before the All-Star game. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley. The tools to hold a meaningful conversation should not be reserved just for a privileged few. It is a skill our world desperately needs in every community, at every table. So I'm pleased to announce the Founding Members Scholarship Program for my online course, The Art of Conversation, in 4 different categories. The Community Builder, for those who serve others, the Rising Voice for emerging communicators, the Bridge Builder for underrepresented perspectives, and the Determined Scholar for those facing financial hardship. If finances are the only barrier between you and this training, well, let's hurdle that barrier. We're accepting applications right now at TavisTalks.com. That's TavisTalks.com. The priority deadline is February the 10th. So visit TavisTalks.com right now and let's build this table together.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Wednesdays and the politics of our faith with Dr. S. Todd Geary, who is joining us on our show. I find it somewhat coincidental, but somewhat also amazing when I think about the story and the history of African Americans and the 100th anniversary of Negro History Week, Negro History Month, and I juxtapose that against the backdrop of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, which we will commemorate on July 4th, 1776, and our freedom system overall at this hour. Got so much that I want to talk about with Dr. S. Todd Geary. Dr. Geary is one of our great contributors on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and I'm particularly honored that he will be, again, joining us momentarily. But think about that. That's at least 176 years that African American history was not celebrated in the United States. Now, we were here. We were here in 1619. We were here before the Mayflower. We were here before Thomas Jefferson in 1776 etched the magnificent words of the Declaration of Independence. We were here even when Carter G. Woodson, 100 years after the Declaration of Independence, began this process, 150 years. And now we commemorate the 100th anniversary of Black History Month. A pivotal point of reflection for all of us is the Negro's contribution through that history. But somewhere I read, I think it was Newton, who said that for every action in the universe, there is an equal and opposite reaction. I think that's true in politics as well. I think that's true in history as well. If you peel back the onion of American history, almost every pivotal moment in the nation's history, the Negro's story was pivotal in the decision-making of that which formed the nation itself. When we think about the earliest political parties, slavery was a factor. In the 3 political parties that included the Federalist Party, the Whig Party, and the Democratic Party, and of course the consolidation of the various parties until 1854, the Republican Party of 1854, that led to the nomination and the election of Abraham Lincoln. But with that said, I can think of no one who can contextualize who we are as a people better at this hour than Dr. S. Todd Geary. Dr. Geary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
Always good to be with you. Trying to figure out how to get in front of this green screen, but we're gonna work it out.
Dr. Geary is the principal of the Geary Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as the senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Yeary is also the former chief executive officer of the Rainbow Coalition, the international human and civil rights organization founded by my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Dr. Yeary's work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network from 2015 to 2021. That is the organization founded by Reverend Al Sharpton, and a number of other community organizations that he works on. So it positions his life very well in the movements of the 21st century and its leadership. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward once again to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, Wednesdays I look forward to, because we get to talk about the things that are important to not just our community, but the human family.
Dr. Yeary, your thoughts on a couple of things. One, the president is increasingly unhinged. It's becoming increasingly clear that, at least from my perspective, that the Congress of the United States is going to have to take some kind of action to remedy or to address constitutionally the president's mental state. The posting of the flyer with the former First Lady and President of the United States certainly suggest, Reverend Yeary, some kind of degeneration.
When you're a bigot, there's no such thing as degeneration. So, it's kind of what you expect. After a while, you wonder what might be next to allow the president to really kind of outdo himself. It seems like he's having a competition of one, and every opportunity he gets, he tries to lower the bar. And so we've seen that in terms of the posting of this video that supposedly comes with some blaming of a staffer, but he's not going to apologize for it. And it's just kind of on and on and on. It is as if we did not know in advance that this was who he is. If we did not see how he behaved as a businessman in New York, that somehow or other this leopard was going to change his spots simply because he spent more time in Washington and in the Southern White House down at Mar-a-Lago. It's just not going to happen. And the fact that he is doing so much so quickly should not shock. It should concern all of us, but it shouldn't shock any of us.
Dr. Yeary, my brother called me about an hour and a half ago, and I praised him for an amazing prayer that he gave at the prayer breakfast, which was a classic moment of prose. I asked Congressman Jonathan Jackson, the distinguished gentleman from the 1st Congressional District of Illinois, I asked him, what did Donald Trump say to you after you prayed for him and you dressed him down? He said, man, that was a great prayer. And he shook his hand. And then I said, well, did the White House call you afterwards and get back to you? He said, no. I said, well, they didn't say anything. He said, no, he posted something about the president and his wife. That's what he did. And then he disinvited Governor Wes Moore and a number of other governors to meetings. So he's been full out meltdown since I prayed for him with a liberation theological prayer. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, Dr. Yeary is in Baltimore, Maryland. He works there. His church is there. And I want to hear his take on what it means for the president to disinvite his governor and Wes Moore, whom he knows personally. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? What's up? What's up? We got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaped his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her ugly mother down the church. Getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month luncheon. Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we're KBLA Talk 1580.
It's tax time, y'all. If you want to file free, this next one's for you.
Now taxes is so free. Tax free edition only, roughly 37% of filings qualify. Simple form 1040 returns only. Now this is tax.
Love that jam. Up next, commercials.
And to get TurboTax free edition, see if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, student loan interest, and Schedule 1A.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
Jackson Jr., The Politics of Our Faith, with Reverend Dr. Todd S. Urey, Esquire, is our very special guest. He's a civil rights attorney and public policy advocate. Dr. Urey holds a deep belief that honest dialogue creates opportunities to form strategic partnerships that strengthen families and communities. Dr. Urey, welcome forward to the show. I think you're muted. I think Dr. Urey is muted. But just in the event that he's not muted, I'm going to have to talk for just a moment while I get my guest. Dr. Urey, can you hear me? I think Dr. Urey might have to go out and come back in. So with that said, I was profoundly disappointed that the President of the United States, who has these annual meetings with the leaders of the 50 states, the governors, would disinvite the Democrats. Now, of course, I expect him to disinvite the Democrats, right? But this idea that the chief executive of the nation believes in alienating some states and some governors, not allowing them to fulfill their functions to participate in our broad union, which is under the umbrella of the Constitution of the United States, as well as the umbrella of his leadership as President of the United States. And so when I see the disinvitation to the governor of Maryland to not be invited to the White House, to not just socialize, but to share from the perspective of the Marylanders the concerns that they might have about the State of the Union. Our very special guest in this hour is Dr. Urey. Dr. Urey, your governor was disinvited to the White House. You've got to have something to say about that.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. It is not, again, surprising, but it is disappointing. And with no explanation, right? You just you do whatever you feel in the moment. I think what we see in terms of his conduct actually aligns very nicely with what you mentioned about your brother, the congressman. I sent him a text. I said, I wanted a copy of that good prayer that he prayed in front of all of the evangelicals that were in the room, because I need to know how to get me a good amen on Sunday morning.
He did that thing, man.
listen. What do they say? Have a little talk with Jesus makes it right. And so he's there. I think those two scenes, one an issue, but certainly Governor Moore has been very clear on his response, and it appears that all of the Democratic governors are not going, which was kind of the last thing I saw maybe this morning. But I believe that when you're almost 80 years old, you're set in your ways. You're not going to teach an old dog new tricks. The old trick of a generation plus ago now, probably 2 generations ago, if we're counting 40-year windows of time, we have stepped back into a period where the dinosaurs have come to life. And so while we're having a racial Jurassic Park moment, I think what we are reminded of is that serious leadership has to remain focused in the face of the offense of racist responses.
You're saying something.
We see it from President Obama. We see it from Governor Moore. We have to straighten up our backs and not get caught up in the fact that a clearly and overtly racist president is doing clearly and overtly racist things.
Your Honor, let me share with you a conversation I had earlier in the week with Reverend Terry Hord Owens, who had a guest stepping in for the show, and also I discussed with other guests earlier in the week. I know some Republicans who are decent people. I've worked with Republicans when I served in the House of Representatives. I've known conservatives my whole life. I don't see them any differently than I see myself. I treat them as my neighbor as best I possibly can, and I believe they respect and treat me the same. But I tried this week to separate Donald Trump from the Republicans that I know and put him in a category all his own. And scripturally, I arrived at legion, that he is many different spirits, but he's one. And that spirit emanates even in the very physical odor that emanates from the man. He has a smell. He has a disposition. He has a hygiene lower than most standard. It's personal. He is racist to the Obamas. He is sexist to Black women and to other women. He is deeply troubled by a Department of Justice investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. He is greedy. He is gluttony. He is I, me, my. There are legion is I don't know Republicans or Democrats who are legion, but the president is for me increasingly scripturally multiple personalities, multiple spirits, all in one. And you can almost anticipate every single day that there's some kind of lashing out of a different spirit, a different energy, whether it's by tweet or social media, or whether it's just general offensive responses. Reverend Uri, if you could just comment for a moment on legion.
There are a couple of things. One, legion, because scriptures say there are many of us. Legion is also a military term. That this warfare, as you often point out, is indeed spiritual. There's a fight going on. And what is clear is that what is needed is a good old-fashioned exorcism for the soul of America, because we're possessed.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the flip side of that is you have legion on one hand. And as you were talking, I said, it also feels like the 7 sons of Sceva. Well, if you recall, when they came across the possessed man trying to cast the demon out, they called on Jesus, the one in whom Paul believes, because the evangelical right clearly has an infatuation with Jesus, but what they need is an introduction.
Well,
and since they've not yet met him, they really don't know how to model themselves after him. You would not come after the poor, the alien, the widow, the orphan, and just make rich people richer, because there's a conversation that Jesus has with the rich young ruler who asks, "What must I do to inherit the kingdom?" And Jesus says, "Don't cut your taxes, go sell what you have and share it."
Mm.
So we have a demonic, spirit-possessed government for which this president is lead. And so what we have is nibbling. The seven sons are running around pretending they're going to cast this thing out. When in reality, if the demon comes out and they're not spiritually grounded, that demon's going to whip their tail. And so I think that's why they keep accommodating this craziness. Look, anytime, for whatever it might be, I'm not buying everything that she's selling, but anytime Marjorie Taylor Greene figures out that, the head spinning around 3 times on the swivel, even though she's got, her stuff and, green stuff coming up, when she figures it's time to get out of here, it's like when we used to go to the movies and sit in the back and we would yell at the screen because we knew what was coming, and we would say, "Don't open that door. They're about to open that door. Don't open that door." We've been telling them, "Don't do this." And here we go. Don't let him back in there, because it's going to be a problem. And
the black person's going to get killed, and the white woman's going to fall down. She got to fall now. She got to fall. She got a good head start, and then she falls. Hey, we got a video that we want to play. Gina, what you got for me, you and Taz? Congressman Jonathan Jackson.
Imago Dei, that we always be reminded we are made in the image of God. In the Latin Verbum Dei, that we also be reminded that we ask for the word of God. Our good and gracious God, we pray for the health and deliberations of the President of the United States. And we pray that you would be the final arbiter of whatever decisions he endeavors to make. That you would increase the stature of his wisdom, because without you, none of us can adjudicate the overwhelming details of leadership and life. Today we pray for America, and we pray for all parliamentarians around the world. The book of Timothy teaches us that you've been entrusted with leadership. Today we pray for the future of this nation, and that you would lead this president into greater levels of compassion for your name's sake. We pray that you would protect him from the iniquities of evil, and that you would give him greater clarity, greater courage, and greater capacity to do what is right in the forever challenges. Today we remind him that the lives of millions of people are in his hands, and that he has the power to turn mourning into dancing, or to reduce the country into a cosmic elegy of chaos and suffering. And it is because of this that we pray that the best of this president would rise among us. For the sake of this nation, for the sake of this world, we pray that goodness and mercy would announce themselves in his life in new and powerful ways. We pray that he would be mindful of the poor, and that he would be invested in the elevation, the alleviation of suffering happening on farms in the Midwest, in the families preparing to bury their loved ones in Minneapolis. Remind him that we are all Americans, all made in the image of God, and that none of us are free unless all of us have our freedoms protected. Many people are not lazy. Many people are simply tired. Many people simply are not okay. Matthew 25 teaches us that faith, that our gifts are given from God, and that we should show them with compassion towards others. But most of all, we pray that you would work out your will in his life. May we all do more for the greater glory of God, because when it's all said and done, we pray as Jesus taught us to pray. We ask that we surrender our all to Jesus. To all hope I give him freely. I will ever love and trust him, and in his life and presence live daily. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Amen.
The president said that was beautiful, and he just, ooh, it was beautiful. But the look on President Trump's face when Johnson,
amen,
amen,
amen. That's all we got.
I've seen a person yet stand up to Donald Trump with the character and clarity that Jonathan Jackson delivered that day. I mean, you can imagine, given his personality, Reverend Urey, just how many people are dancing in front of that man every day. Jonathan dropped it on him, Reverend Urey.
You know, having been able to walk closely with the Jackson family for many years now, you know, I get to see all of the different dimensions of personalities. So to know the congressman is to know that if you get him off to the side, he's as likely to crack a joke that'll take you, you know, off to the races as anything else. He's got a great sense of humor, but he knows the moment, and he knows the seriousness of the moment, and he also knows that you don't miss your moment, and he didn't miss it. And I think what if you listen carefully to the words of the prayer, I think a lot of folks were really just kind of confused. Was he getting digs in, or was he really giving the president credit? Give him greater compassion, he prayed. Well, I'm not sure he's got compassion at all. So I might have prayed, introduce him to compassion. But in the moment, he recognizes the platform and the stage because he's got it, right? But he also makes it real clear for folks who are burying their loved ones in Minneapolis. He was all the way in the middle of the street there. It was clear. And so kudos to him. Hopefully the prayer hit the president in a way that might move him. We'll see. But I believe God was listening. That much is for sure.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is the Politics of Our Faith with Reverend Dr. Todd Urey, Esquire. He's both a lawyer. He practices in a courtroom just about every single day, and he preaches on Sunday full time. 1 foot in the pulpit, 1 foot in the courtroom, but both feet in reality. He's Dr. S. Todd Urey. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward in just a moment.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Tensions flared during a House hearing when Black New Jersey Representative LaMonica McIver pressed acting ICE Director Todd Lyons with pointed questions.
Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you?
Lyons also declined to comment on an active investigation tied to ICE-involved shootings. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has ordered LAPD officers to turn on their body cameras when responding to federal immigration enforcement scenes. The directive requires video to be recorded and preserved, officers to document the names and badge numbers of federal supervisors present, and to file reports if they witness any misconduct. And an attorney for Smokey Robinson is asking a court to sanction one of the women accusing him of sexual misconduct. Robinson's lawyer says the woman is avoiding a deposition and should be barred from testifying at trial. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In the new year, make one commitment. Don't let someone else's carelessness leave you paying the price. OPO Law has been protecting Los Angeles for nearly 50 years. So if you're injured this holiday season or at any time in 2026, go to opolaw.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A couple of significant notes from the Lakers' blowout loss to San Antonio Tuesday night. LeBron missed his 16th game this season because of a sore foot. That means he's not eligible for selection to the All-NBA team after the season. 2 years ago, the NBA changed their rules, requiring players to not miss more than 15 games to remain eligible for postseason honors. LeBron had been an All-NBA selection for 21 straight years. San Antonio star Victor Wembanyama scored 37 of his 40 points against the Lakers in the first half. That was the highest first half total by any player this season. Some of the entertainment has been confirmed for NBA All-Star Weekend. Three-time Grammy-winner Ludacris will perform Saturday at the Intuit Dome before the dunk contest. Brandy and Sarah McLachlan will perform the U.S. and Canadian national anthems on Sunday before the All-Star game. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
They call it progress, but progress has a price. Land once held in black hands, taken, stolen, erased. Acres paved into highways, fields burned. Homes replaced by parking lots and broken promises. Every deed lost was a dream deferred. We talk about millionaires, but what about the millionaires that never were? The farmers whose soil was seized, the families who watched their inheritance disappear, the wealth that never had a chance to grow because its roots were ripped from the ground. They took the land, but never the legacy, because the soil remembers, and so do we. Every story matters. Our mission is to collect, preserve, and amplify these stories. If this is part of your family's history, visit blacklandlost.org/share your story and help bring us closer to justice.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA
1580. Download the app. Hey, this is Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Wednesdays. Our very special contributor is Dr. S. Todd Yeary. He is one of our most dynamic spiritual leaders on our program. It's February 11th. In 1990, Nelson Mandela was released from Victor Verster prison after 27 years of imprisonment, a pivotal moment in dismantling South African apartheid. In 1644, the first black legal protest in America, 1644. 11 enslaved Africans in New Netherlands, present-day New York, petitioned for their freedom. Their protest was successful, leading to their release and the establishment of the first community of freed Africans in the Americas. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I remember to unmute this time. Glad to be hanging out.
Doc, let me ask you a question. There's got to be some things in the news that meet the intersection of the politics of our faith, both your sense of spirituality being challenged, but also the moment, meeting the moment, and what the issues present. Doc, anything on the news that particularly piques your interest where that intersection occurs?
Bad Bunny.
Oh, wow. Wasn't that something?
Listen.
Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead, Doc.
You know, there's an African proverb that we ought learn how to see the music and hear the dance.
Mm.
That we've become so dependent in our imperial entitlement as Americans, that we don't need to learn other folks' language to be able to communicate with them. But then you have this ingenious presentation at the Super Bowl where, you know, music kind of cuts through. You know, I just kind of think about whenever your father would be in the mood, in the moment, he would go in the office and he would turn on his music, and it would kind of channel for him an energy that he needed that would let him connect with what he was doing. So I think that's one, right? That's out of the culture. But then there's the challenge of the moment. The intersection is always what's going on in life. We still have a lot happening. Whether or not it gets reported is a different conversation. But we cannot become so dependent upon just what comes across sound bites to really kind of know that we are in the throes of probably the most serious season of being people of faith, at least in my lifetime. Because the stakes are too high, not just for us, but for generations unborn. I was having lunch with a colleague of mine earlier today, and the moving of the capital, the money, is so profound in this moment that if this president hijacks the people's bank, so the Federal Reserve Bank is the public bank, and we have several of them across the country. If the president is able to hijack that bank and therefore put his thumb on the scale of who gets capital, as he already has tried with the budget, but also who's able to access it, we've got a different kind of thing. So we're there where we've got to figure out, for funding our next movement, what's going to be our next Montgomery bus boycott moment, because the stakes literally will impact generations down the line if we miss this moment.
And the Bad Bunny presentation didn't end until the English language presentation that showed up on the big screen. But I thought it was an amazing treatment of We Too Are America. I felt Langston Hughes in the presentation. I don't know if everyone saw it, but I felt it. And then the universal nature of it, all of the flags and all of the Afro-Colombian, Afro-Central American, the Caribbean contribution to America. And in a completely different language. My grandmama once told me, you could tell when she was going to give you a whooping long before she gave you one, because the expression itself communicated far more than any words could that you were in trouble. And while I may not have understood every word to every song, the message was so profound that it was palpable. That, remember now, this is against the backdrop of a president who threatens to have ICE agents at the Super Bowl itself, detaining American citizens. And while the right may want to suggest that it was Bad Bunny that delivered a political statement during the halftime show, it's actually a political statement prompted by the President of the United States, who sought to put his troops on display at the Super Bowl, at the most watched hour of the year, and maybe around the world, in the biggest game of the year. It was a political statement. And it was an answer to a political statement offered by the President of the United States. Dr. Yuri?
Yeah, you want to make a political statement, just show up. I'm a political statement every day. There aren't too many places where I go that my presence does not make a statement politically. Most folks expect people of color to only aspire to certain levels or to achieve certain levels. And so part of the political statement is watching the room when I walk in and try to figure out now who's going to ask me first some crazy question to try to determine whether or not I'm qualified to be in the room. So when Bad Bunny takes the stage and he's doing pretty much the whole show in Spanish, that's a statement. But not only that, that's also being politically clear, because had he tried to translate all of the songs and do them with the accent or whatever, there's going to be some criticism there. So be you. I mean, if you want to make the most powerful political statement, be authentically yourself and make the world deal with it. And then we can have some conversation about how we're going to change this dynamic. But as long as I'm still expected to have to modify, to code switch, to pretend that somehow or other I'm going to be like our poor brother in Bamboozled. He's got his corporate name, but then when he gets on the phone with his mama call him by what's on the birth certificate. Right? I need the birth certificate version of you, not the part of you that is on your business card, because your business card is who you have morphed into. I want to deal with the reality.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's the Politics of Our Faith with Dr. S. Todd Yeary. More when we come forward in our final segment with Dr. S. Todd Yeary on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Still battling a thirsty lawn that guzzles water and drains your wallet? Let LADWP turn that patch of grass into a gorgeous drought-smart garden for free. We're talking a full California-friendly landscape makeover designed and installed by pros at no cost to you. That's right, LADWP does the work, you get the upgrade. Ready to transform your yard and save big? Visit LADWP.com/leap. That's LADWP.com/LEAP.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Light a candle, pour some wine. Grab a roll, the soft kind for a little me time. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear. Wavy edges for my rear. So let the softness caress your soul. Just relax, you're on a roll. Let her rip. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear.
Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has the same softness you love, now with wavy edges that tear better than the leading one-ply brand. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Only available with TurboTax experts. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Not everything announces itself. Some things simply arrive, and the room is compelled to adjust. This is grooming without apology, without noise, without compromise. Gods and money, organic formulations, clean precision, crafted for skin that does not ask for permission to be felt. Element Cream, a rare hydration layered like an oud at dusk, measured, enduring, unmistakably masculine, moisturizing oil, a quiet revolution, restoring what stress, climate, and time attempts to claim. This is not skincare. It is composure made visible. It is inevitability. Gods and money exist impeccably. Discover the ritual at godsandmoney.com. That's godsandmoney, MONY.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It is the Politics of Our Faith with Dr. S. Todd Yeary, both a minister and a lawyer, 1 foot in the pulpit, 1 foot in the courtroom, both feet in reality. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your show, The Politics of Our Faith.
It's always a blast to just kind of laugh sometime and deal with the issues and figure out how we're going to move forward.
We were talking about the intersection in our final segment of our faith with contemporary events. And I thought it most appropriate that you went somewhere that I didn't think we'd actually go to. You went to Bad Bunny because there was so many messages that really came out of his performance and the true artistry of what he represented at the Super Bowl. Beyond that, has anything in the news recently created that intersectional question for you about a deep spiritual reflection over what's taking place?
In a sense that we have to maintain our sense of confidence in one another. I think after a while, we become so cynical that we really lose our ability to trust that our neighbor really is our neighbor. And I'll tell you where I raise that. You know, this Justice Department has gone after anybody and everybody. And again, they've come up empty, even with their efforts to try to indict the Democratic senators who've served either in policy spaces or in the military, who just kind of said very accurately, you don't have to obey and you should not obey illegal orders. The fact that they can't get an indictment says that, all right, if we understand how civics works, we've got to be in those processes. If we're going to put up a firewall, we can't just watch it. We have to become part of it. And so we got to make sure we show up for jury duty, whether it's locally or federally. You may not know what the case is until you get there. But to avoid it means that you leave it up to whoever's going to be in the random pool. And the case is thin. We know that a lot of folks have gotten jammed up because that the case was strong, but the jury pool was limited. And so the ability to get folks to hear what needs to be heard changes. So I think that's one piece. The other piece is just kind of staying grounded. You know, the reason I brought up Bad Bunny is because we could watch Bad Bunny. We don't have to become so intoxicated by watching the foolishness that we lose our ability to stay grounded in being alive. Life is still happening. And so we can't push pause simply because that, you know, they're having 3-year-old temper tantrums at the checkout line in the White House while they're trying to knock down a wing and say, we're going to start doing the inauguration in this new ballroom. No, you know, it's that kind of being aware that I think keeps me grounded in hope, because the people are still alive. Now, once we start walking around like zombies, then we may have to have a different conversation. But we've got to keep our finger on the pulse, make sure that we've got a good rhythm for our heartbeat, and make sure that our minds are clear and our hearts are focused, because we've got work to do in real time.
I do want to wish Barbara Jean a happy birthday. She is one of our most consistent and wonderful participants on social media on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and my very special guest and neighbor, Makai Dyson. Bro, I can't believe you're listening to the show today. He says that Dr. Todd Eury is one of his role models, that, hey, this brother right here is the truth. That's from Makai Dyson, who lives across the street from me here in the city of Chicago, listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Bro, thank you for listening today. And for all of our guests who are listening, Dr. Eury, we have about 4.5 minutes before the top of the hour. Can you share with us your word of hope?
There are so many things that come across my mind as we talk. I kind of start with one thing and we talk some more, and then I kind of move somewhere else.
Sorry.
And we come back and have a different conversation. And I'm like, never mind. And so to get to this place where I try to leave something to keep folks encouraged. And sometimes, as we often do in the Black church tradition, is we recognize that we're people with responsibilities, even when we are running for our very lives, as David was when he was running from Saul. He couldn't run from his assignment, because if you read that passage, it says all the folks who had issues were following him, and he's running, trying to just spare himself. So you can't run away from who you are and who you've been created to be. So I figured my word of encouragement, and I'll ground it in scripture so y'all don't think I'm some bootleg preacher out here faking it in these streets. I have a new theology called Do You Boo. Do You Boo is look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and recognize that you are an amazing gift from God. placed in this moment in time to leave a mark that is going to be so impactful until it won't soon be erased. And so if you stay focused with that, then you have to recognize that when you go through the challenges of life, like the psalmist will say, I like the psalmist talks like I talk. The psalmist, says the Lord is my shepherd, but the psalmist also says these folk getting on my nerves, get my enemies. I can relate to the psalmist. But the psalmist is also very aware. I want you to be aware that wherever you are, God is. That's what the psalmist said in Psalm 139. If I go to the highest heavens, you're there. If I have to walk through the depths of life in the sea, you're there. I can't escape where you are. And so God says, be still, be cool. Keep your powder dry. Stay focused and recognize it's not just who you are, but whose you are that's going to make a difference in this moment. And in the end, as our brother Kendrick Lamar would say, a good public theologian in the modern context, we're going to be all right.
We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. Thank you, Dr. Yeary. So grateful that you've been on our show today and your regular contribution to our efforts. How's your family doing?
Everybody's good. Listen, we just out here trying to do what we do as long as we can and do it to the best of our ability. So I'm grateful to still be able to do what I do. And I've got a great support system to make it happen.
I want to take this opportunity to thank KBLA Talk 1580 for the opportunity to have the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on this wonderful network. And I want to remind everybody that in order to have free voices, the kind of voices that we have in this nation on this station, it is a rarity. Just this past week, Jeff Bezos laid off, I think, a third of the Washington Post. Other news organizations are going through similar transformations. Many of them are becoming far more corporate, which means that economic interests at the top of the news are actually driving the news. But right here at KBLA, we have the opportunity to maintain our independent voices. Those independent voices are grounded in a unique spirituality that gives us the courage to wake up every single day, put not only our voices on the lines, but in some cases, our lives on the line. So proud of Don Lemon for standing up and showing us what truth speaking to power truly means. But in a real sense, from Dominique DePrima to Tavis Smiley to Nee Quarterly Corte to Cornell West to all of the regular contributors on KBLA, that's exactly what we do. And while it may not be Christmas, keep this station in your prayers. But also, if you got some extra change, it's okay to stop by Lamert Park and drop some of it off because we need the resources to keep our voices free, to keep our people safe, and to be legitimate. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward tomorrow. It will be Thought-Provoking Thursdays. I'll see you then.
KBLA